she giggled. "Ah, did I hurt your feelings by flirting with him? After making out with my gym buddy at my own party?" I just said, "Not even close." She stopped giggling when she found out I'd been dating her roommate for 2 weeks. The moving truck photos were satisfying. Her begging voicemails were desperate. Brianna and I had been together for 8 months when I started noticing the changes. We'd met at a coffee shop near my Tampa office where I work as a project manager for a construction firm, and she was everything I thought I wanted: fitness influencer with 50,000 followers, stunning blonde who turned heads wherever we went, and someone who seemed to appreciate my steady, reliable nature. I just signed the lease on a nice 2-bedroom apartment downtown, finally making enough to afford the kind of place I'd always wanted, and Brianna had been excited about spending more time there, especially since her roommate Hannah could be a bit much sometimes. When my gym buddy Derek offered to help set up a home workout space in my spare room, it seemed like perfect timing. Derek was one of those naturally gifted trainers, built like a linebacker but surprisingly knowledgeable about nutrition and form, and he'd been pushing me to take my fitness more seriously for months. The plan was simple. He'd come by twice a week to guide me through some advanced routines, help me use the equipment properly, and maybe eventually I'd feel confident enough to train independently. What I didn't expect was Brianna's sudden intense interest in my workout schedule. She'd never shown much enthusiasm for my fitness goals before, usually scrolling through her phone while I talked about my progress or suggesting we skip gym sessions for brunch dates. But the day Derek first came over, she emerged from the bedroom wearing the tiniest workout outfit I'd ever seen her in, a sports bra that barely qualified as clothing and shorts that left absolutely nothing to the imagination. "Mind if I join you guys?" she asked with this bright, innocent smile that should have been my first red flag. I could really use some tips on my form. Derek, being a professional trainer, didn't seem fazed by her appearance, but I noticed how her questions became increasingly specific about his training philosophy, his personal routine, his thoughts on various fitness trends. During our sessions, she'd position herself directly in Derek's line of sight, asking him to check her form on exercises that were clearly designed to show off her flexibility. "Am I doing this right?" became her constant refrain, followed by adjustments that somehow required Derek's hands-on guidance. I tried to tell myself I was being paranoid. After all, Derek was there to help, and Brianna was genuinely interested in improving her fitness content. But the late-night texting started about 2 weeks into our training arrangement. I'd catch glimpses of her phone screen showing Derek's name at 11 p.m., midnight, even 1 a.m. When I finally asked about it one evening, she barely looked up from typing. "Oh, that's just Derek sending me some nutrition tips and workout videos. He's so dedicated to helping people reach their goals." The explanation felt rehearsed, too smooth, and when I suggested she could ask him those questions during our scheduled sessions, she shrugged. "He has really good insights about motivation and mindset stuff. Some things are better discussed when you can really focus, you know?" I started paying closer attention after that. Her workout outfits kept getting skimpier, her questions for Derek more personal, her enthusiasm for our home gym setup almost aggressive. When I mentioned one evening that maybe we should start going to Derek's actual gym to access better equipment and meet other fitness enthusiasts, Brianna's response was immediate and firm. "Why would we do that? This setup is so much more convenient. Private, comfortable, no crowds or waiting for equipment. Plus, Derek gives us such personalized attention here." The way she emphasized personalized attention made my stomach clench. I watched her during our next session, really watched, and saw how she laughed too loudly at Derek's jokes, how she found excuses to brush against him when moving between exercises, how her eyes followed him around the room with an intensity that had nothing to do with proper squat form. Derek, to his credit, remained professional and focused, but I could see him becoming slightly uncomfortable with her increasingly obvious behavior. The breaking point came when I suggested we take a week off from home training because I had a big project deadline. Brianna's face fell instantly. "But what about our routine?" I was really making progress with Derek's guidance. Not our progress, Derek's guidance. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong, and I started planning accordingly. 2 weeks later, I decided to throw a housewarming party for my new apartment. I'd been putting it off for months, but suddenly it felt like exactly the right time to celebrate my space with friends, colleagues, and a few neighbors I'd gotten to know. I sent out invitations to about 20 people, including Derek. After all, he'd been such a dedicated training partner, and I wanted to show my appreciation for all his help with my fitness journey. Brianna seemed unusually excited about the party, spending the entire week before planning her outfit, researching cocktail recipes she wanted to try, and suggesting we hire a DJ to really make it memorable. The night of the party, she emerged from the bedroom wearing a dress that barely qualified as clothing, black, skin-tight, and cut so low that I wondered how she'd managed to avoid a wardrobe malfunction just walking from the closet. "What do you think?" she asked, doing a little spin that confirmed my suspicions about the lack of undergarments. "You look noticeable," I replied, which seemed to please her immensely. Guests started arriving around 7, and everything began normally enough. My co-workers mingled with college friends, neighbors brought wine and compliments about the apartment, and everyone seemed genuinely happy to be there. Derek showed up around 8 wearing a casual button-down and jeans, carrying a six-pack of craft beer and looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. I later realized he'd probably been dreading this exact scenario, being in social proximity to Brianna outside of our controlled training environment. The moment Derek walked through the door, Brianna's entire demeanor shifted. She went from casual hostess to something I'd never seen before, predatory, focused, operating with surgical precision. She immediately gravitated toward him, touching his arm while talking, standing just slightly too close, laughing with an intensity that made conversations around them pause awkwardly. "Derek, I'm so glad you could make it," she said, her hand lingering on his bicep for what felt like an eternity. "You have to try this cocktail I made. It's supposed to boost metabolism and recovery." She guided him toward the kitchen with her hand on his lower back, completely ignoring the confused looks from other guests who'd never seen her interact with any of my friends this way. Throughout the evening, I watched her performance with growing fascination and disgust. She found excuses to be near Derek constantly, refilling his drink before it was empty, asking his opinion on the music, requesting his help reaching something from a high shelf that she could easily access herself. When people started dancing in the living room, she made a beeline for Derek, pulling him into the group and proceeding to dance against him in ways that would have been inappropriate at a nightclub, let alone my housewarming party. My friend Marcus, who'd known me since college, eventually pulled me aside. "Dude, what's going on with Brianna and your trainer friend? She's basically grinding on him in front of everyone." I shrugged, maintaining my composure while internally cataloging every inappropriate touch, every obvious invitation, every moment of disrespect happening in my own home. "Brianna likes to dance," I said simply. "She's just having fun." But I wasn't having fun anymore. I was conducting an experiment, and the results were exactly what I'd expected. Around 10:30, I realized I hadn't seen either Brianna or Derek for about 15 minutes. I'd been talking with my neighbor about property values and HOA policies, genuinely engaged conversation that helped distract me from the circus happening in my living room. When I went looking for more ice in the kitchen, both of them were missing from the main party area. I checked the balcony, the spare room, even the bathroom before finally walking toward my bedroom to grab a phone charger someone had requested. The door was slightly ajar, and through the gap, I could see them clearly. Brianna pressed against Derek, her hands in his hair, kissing him with the kind of passion she'd stopped showing me months ago. Derek's hands were on her waist, and he was clearly not resisting her advances, though he looked confused and conflicted even in that moment. I stood there for exactly 10 seconds, not out of shock but out of curiosity about how far she'd actually take this betrayal in my own bedroom during my own party. Then I pushed the door open fully and cleared my throat. They sprang apart like teenagers caught by parents, Brianna's lipstick smeared, Derek's shirt disheveled, both of them looking guilty as hell. Derek immediately started stammering apologies, but Brianna surprised me with her reaction. Instead of embarrassment or remorse, she looked almost defiant, like she'd been caught doing something mildly naughty rather than betraying a year-long relationship. "Ah, did I hurt your feelings by flirting with him?" she asked with this condescending smile, smoothing down her dress like nothing significant had happened. The dismissive tone, the casual cruelty, the complete lack of remorse, it was actually perfect. She just handed me everything I needed. I walked back into the living room where my friends were still enjoying the party, completely unaware of the drama that had just unfolded down the hall. Marcus was telling some story about his new job, everyone was laughing, and the whole scene felt surreal, like I was watching it happen to someone else. Brianna emerged from the bedroom about 5 minutes later, her dress readjusted and her confidence seemingly restored, probably expecting me to create some kind of scene that would let her play the victim. Derek had already made his escape through the front door without saying goodbye to anyone, which was probably the smartest thing he could have done under the circumstances. But I wasn't planning to give Brianna the dramatic confrontation she was clearly expecting. Instead, I had something much better prepared. I waited until she'd rejoined the group and was trying to act normal, chatting with my neighbor about some fitness influencer drama she'd seen on social media. Then I cleared my throat and raised my voice just enough to get everyone's attention. "Hey everyone, I have an announcement to make," I said, pulling out my phone with the casual confidence of someone about to share vacation photos. "I know this might come as a surprise, but I wanted you all to meet my girlfriend, Hannah." The room went dead silent. Brianna's face went through about 6 different expressions in 2 seconds: confusion, disbelief, panic, and finally a kind of desperate calculation as she tried to figure out what game I was playing. "She couldn't make it tonight because she was helping her roommate move out," I continued, swiping to the photo gallery I'd prepared specifically for this moment. "But we've been dating for about 2 weeks now, ever since I found out some interesting information about my previous relationship." I held up my phone, showing a picture of Hannah and me at dinner from the previous weekend, her beautiful smile, my genuine happiness, both of us looking completely comfortable and natural together. Hannah's actually Brianna's roommate, which made things convenient for gathering information about certain late-night activities and suspicious text messages. The silence stretched longer. My friends looked confused, trying to process what I was saying and why I was saying it at my own party. Brianna looked like someone had just explained quantum physics to her in ancient Greek. "Wait, what?" Marcus finally asked, looking between me and Brianna like he was watching a tennis match. "Hannah who?" I swiped to another photo, Hannah and me at a coffee shop, laughing over something she just said. Hannah Chen, Brianna's roommate and apparently her unwilling witness to months of cheating behavior. Turns out when you live with someone who's constantly lying about where they're going and who they're texting, you notice patterns. Brianna found her voice then, but it came out as more of a squeak than her usual confident tone. "Luke, what are you talking about? Hannah's just my roommate. You don't even know her." "Actually, we know each other pretty well now," I said, showing another photo of us at a bookstore, Hannah holding up a novel she'd recommended. "She reached out to me about 3 weeks ago when she got tired of covering for your lies about working late and having family emergencies. Apparently, watching someone constantly disrespect their boyfriend while bragging about having a backup plan gets old pretty quickly." The room was now riveted, everyone staring at their phones forgotten, drinks growing warm in their hands. This was clearly not the kind of housewarming party entertainment anyone had expected. "Hannah's been keeping me updated on your real schedule," I continued, my voice staying calm and factual. "The nights you claimed to be working late but were actually at Derek's apartment. The family emergencies that were really dinner dates. The fitness motivation texts that were really, well, not about fitness at all." Brianna's face had gone completely white, and she was gripping her drink so tightly I thought the glass might shatter. "You're lying," she said, but her voice lacked any conviction. "This is insane. You're making this up to humiliate me." I showed one final photo, Hannah and me from earlier that day, both of us wearing matching smiles and workout gear, clearly taken in Derek's actual gym. We actually went to Derek's real gym this morning for a proper training session. Turns out he's much more professional when he's not being manipulated by someone pretending to need form corrections on exercises she's been doing perfectly for years. The pieces were clearly clicking together for everyone in the room. My neighbor's mouth was literally hanging open. Marcus was grinning like he'd just witnessed the most satisfying plot twist in movie history. A few people were already pulling out their phones, probably to text other friends about the drama unfolding at Luke's party. But the best part was watching Brianna realize that her entire strategy had backfired spectacularly. She thought she was playing chess while I was playing checkers, but I'd actually been playing an entirely different game altogether. "Hannah's moving her stuff out of your shared apartment tomorrow," I said, putting my phone away. "Apparently, she's been looking forward to having a roommate who doesn't use her as an alibi for cheating. Funny how that works out." The transformation in Brianna's face was remarkable to watch. The confident woman who'd been flirting with Derek in my bedroom 10 minutes earlier had been replaced by someone who looked genuinely panicked for the first time since I'd known her. She stood there, her drink trembling in her hand, clearly trying to process how completely her world had just shifted. "This is insane," she finally said, her voice rising. "You all need to leave. Right now. This party is over." She pointed toward the door like she had authority to dismiss my guests from my apartment. Marcus let out a laugh he tried to cover with a cough. Brianna, this isn't your place." "Actually," I said calmly, walking over to grab my lease agreement from the kitchen counter. "Since there seems to be some confusion about whose apartment this is, maybe I should clarify." I held up the document with my name clearly visible. Luke Morrison, sole lessee, security deposit paid in full, utilities in my name. So technically, these are my guests in my home. The reality was clearly starting to sink in. She had no lease, no claim to the space, no legal standing to demand anything. "You can't just humiliate me like this in front of all these people," she said, her voice cracking. "You planned this whole thing to make me look terrible. Actually, I think you handled that pretty effectively on your own. I just provided the venue." That's when we heard the key in the front door. Everyone turned as Hannah walked in, looking stunning in jeans and a casual sweater, carrying herself with natural confidence. Behind her were two guys with a moving dolly and several large boxes. "Perfect timing," Hannah said with a bright smile. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything important." She walked directly over to me and kissed my cheek like we'd been dating for months, completely comfortable with the public display. Brianna's mouth fell open watching this casual intimacy. "Hannah." Brianna's voice came out as barely a whisper. "What are you doing here? And why do you have moving boxes?" "Moving out," Hannah said cheerfully. "I gave our landlord notice 2 weeks ago. Luke offered me his spare room until I find my own place, and honestly, after living with you for 8 months, the idea of a roommate who doesn't use me as an alibi for cheating sounds amazing." The movers were already heading toward the hallway, clearly following a predetermined plan. Everything was happening with military precision. "You can't do this," Brianna said, following Hannah. "We have a lease together. I can't afford that place by myself." "Already talked to the landlord," Hannah replied, pulling out a folder. "I'm allowed to terminate my portion with 30 days' notice, which I gave 3 weeks ago." She handed Brianna official-looking documents. Brianna flipped through the papers, her face getting more desperate. "This is illegal. I'll take you to court." "Feel free. Though you might want to save your money for rent since you'll be paying the full amount starting next month." That's when Brianna really lost it. "You're both insane," she screamed, throwing the documents on the floor. "This is all some sick game because you're pathetic and insecure and can't handle that Derek is more of a man than you'll ever be." The room went silent, but now people just looked uncomfortable watching someone have a complete breakdown. "And you," she turned on Hannah with genuine venom, "you're just a sad girl who wanted my boyfriend because you're jealous of everything I have. Well, congratulations, you can have him. He's boring and cheap and you deserve each other." Hannah didn't even flinch. "Thanks. I'm really happy with how things worked out." "You've been living here already, haven't you?" Brianna asked suddenly, her eyes darting around. "Your coffee mug in the kitchen, that book on the counter, the extra toothbrush in the bathroom." "About a week now," I confirmed. "Hannah's been helping me understand the real timeline of your activities. Amazing how much clearer things become when you have someone honest providing context." Brianna looked around at all my friends staring at her, at Hannah calmly directing movers, at me standing there completely unfazed by her meltdown. She was realizing she'd walked into a situation where everyone knew more than she did, where every move had been anticipated. "This isn't over," she said finally, grabbing her purse. "You think you're so smart, but you have no idea who you're messing with." "Actually," I said as she headed for the door, "I think it is over. But thanks for clarifying that for everyone." The digital harassment started before I even woke up the next morning. By the time I checked my phone over coffee, I had 23 texts from Brianna sent between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., ranging from furious accusations to desperate apologies. "You think you're so clever but you just destroyed both our lives for nothing," read one from 2:17 a.m. Then at 4:30 a.m., the tone shifted. "I know you're hurt and you have every right to be, but we can work through this if you just give me a chance to explain." By 6 a.m., she was back to anger. "Hannah is using you to get back at me and you're too stupid to see it." Hannah showed me her own phone, which had similar messages. "Apparently, I'm a backstabbing snake who manipulated you into this elaborate revenge plot because I'm secretly jealous of her lifestyle," she said with weary amusement. The messages kept coming throughout the day. She tried guilt, bargaining, threats, cycling through every manipulation tactic in her playbook. When I blocked her number, she started using friends' phones, burner apps, even random landlines. The voicemails were worse than the texts because I could hear the genuine desperation, the raw panic of someone whose world had collapsed overnight. "I can't eat, I can't sleep, I can't function without you," came one 2 a.m. message between sobs. "I'm begging you to just give me 5 minutes to explain what really happened." Meanwhile, she was working every mutual friend we had, trying to convince them to intervene. Marcus called Tuesday evening, laughing. "Brianna just spent 45 minutes trying to convince me that you've been planning this elaborate manipulation for months and Hannah orchestrated everything to steal her life." "What did you tell her?" I told her that anyone who makes out with their boyfriend's friend in his bedroom during his housewarming party shouldn't lecture others about manipulation. She did not take that well. The most surreal incident happened Thursday when I was in a client meeting. My assistant said someone was in the lobby claiming a family emergency. I found Brianna in our reception area wearing sunglasses indoors and a completely inappropriate dress. "We need to talk," she said, grabbing my arm. "This has gone on long enough and I'm not leaving until you hear me out." Half the office was watching as I calmly told her this was inappropriate and she needed to leave. That's when she lost it completely, shouting about how I was a boring little man who would never find anyone better, how Hannah would get tired of my pathetic life in 2 weeks. Security escorted her out while she screamed about how I'd ruined her life. My boss suggested I consider a restraining order if the harassment continued. Hannah was dealing with her own campaign. Brianna had called their landlord claiming Hannah violated their lease, contacted Hannah's workplace claiming she was unstable and had stolen property. "She's committed to this narrative that we're the villains," Hannah said after her third HR conversation. By the end of 3 days, I'd received 89 texts from various numbers and 47 voicemails, all variations on desperation, anger, and creative historical revision. The final message came Friday night. "Fine, you win. I hope you're happy with what you've done. But don't come looking for me when you realize what you've lost." I showed it to Hannah, who was reading beside me, completely unbothered by the week of digital stalking. "Think that's the end of it?" she asked. "Not even close," I replied. "People like Brianna don't just disappear quietly. They go public." I was exactly right about Brianna going public, but what I didn't anticipate was Hannah beating her to it. Monday morning, while I was getting ready for work, Hannah showed me her phone with a mischievous grin. "I hope you don't mind, but I posted something about the move yesterday." She'd uploaded a photo to Instagram showing the moving truck outside their old apartment, boxes labeled "Brianna's Designer Delusions" and "Freedom from Toxic Roommates" clearly visible in the background. The caption was a masterpiece of diplomatic shade. "Finally moved out from my roommate situation. Sometimes you don't realize how toxic an environment is until you're free from it." Shout out to people who use their friends as alibis for cheating, then act shocked when those friends choose honesty over loyalty to liars. Living with integrity feels amazing. New chapter starts now. Flexed biceps. #moving on. #choose honesty. #toxic free. The post had been up for 18 hours and already had over 200 likes and dozens of comments from people asking for details. Hannah had kept her response classy, just liking supportive comments and ignoring requests for drama. But the real explosion happened when someone in the comments recognized Brianna from her fitness influencer content. "Wait, is this about at Brianna Fit Life? The girl who's always posting about loyalty and authentic relationships?" one commenter asked. "Because if so, this is absolutely hilarious." That's when things went completely viral. People started screenshotting Brianna's recent TikTok posts where she preached about relationship values and authentic living, posting them alongside Hannah's moving truck photo. The contrast was absolutely devastating. Here was Brianna from 2 weeks earlier. "Ladies, know your worth. A real man will fight for you and respect your boundaries. Never settle for someone who doesn't see your value." And another from last month. "Loyalty is everything in relationships. If someone can't be faithful to you, they don't deserve you. Period. Never make excuses for cheaters. They show you who they are, believe them." The irony was so thick you could cut it with a knife. People were having an absolute field day with the juxtaposition between her public persona and her actual behavior. The hashtag #BriannaFitLife started trending locally as more people shared screenshots of her content alongside increasingly creative captions. By Tuesday evening, the story had spread beyond Instagram to TikTok, Twitter, and even Reddit. Someone had created a compilation video of Brianna's relationship advice posts with Hannah's moving truck photo as the finale, set to dramatic music. It had 50,000 views in 6 hours. Party attendees started chiming in with their own accounts of what happened that night. Marcus posted a TikTok reenacting the bedroom discovery scene with his girlfriend playing both roles, captioned, "When you catch your girl cheating at your own housewarming party." My neighbor shared a photo of the lease document moment with the caption, "Plot twist, she didn't even live there." Each new post added another layer to the story, and people were absolutely eating it up. The comments section on everything was pure entertainment. The audacity of preaching about loyalty while literally making out with someone else's boyfriend had 2,000 likes. Imagine thinking you can kick people out of an apartment you don't even live in, got 1,500. This is why you don't trust fitness influencers who only post thirst traps and fake relationship advice, was approaching viral status on its own. Wednesday morning, Brianna attempted damage control with a 15-minute Instagram live session titled, My Truth About Recent Events. She was clearly in her childhood bedroom at her parents' house, trying to control the narrative with what looked like a carefully planned PR response. I want to address some lies that have been spreading about me online, she began, looking directly into the camera with practiced sincerity. First of all, I never cheated on anyone. Luke and I had been having problems for months, and he knew our relationship was basically over. What happened at that party was just confirmation of what we both already knew. The comments section immediately exploded with party attendees calling her out. I was there, you literally made out with his trainer in his bedroom, got pinned to the top somehow. Girl, we all saw you grinding on Derek all night, stop lying, had dozens of fire emojis. She tried to pivot to portraying herself as the victim. Luke manipulated the entire situation to humiliate me publicly because he couldn't handle that I was ready to move on. He coordinated with my roommate to create this elaborate revenge plot, and now people are bullying me online based on lies and manipulated information. But the damage was already done. Screenshots of her live session were being shared faster than she could make her points, often with commentary pointing out the contradictions in her story. Someone had created a side-by-side comparison of her saying, I never cheated, with party photos clearly showing her wrapped around Derek. The really brutal part was watching her follower count drop in real time. She'd started the week with 50,000 followers and was down to 42,000 by Thursday. Comments on her old posts were flooded with references to the cheating scandal, people posting moving truck emojis, and requests for her to address the hypocrisy of her relationship advice content. Brands started distancing themselves immediately. Her supplement sponsorship posted a statement about not aligning with influencers whose actions contradict their stated values. The workout clothing company that had been featuring her in their ads quietly removed all content with her from their social media. A meditation app canceled a planned collaboration, citing recent behavioral concerns that don't align with our mindfulness-focused brand values. By Friday, what had started as Hannah's simple moving announcement had become a full-scale social media case study in influencer accountability. People were using Brianna's situation as an example of how quickly public perception can shift when someone's private actions contradict their public persona. The internet had spoken, and the verdict was unanimous. Authenticity matters, and people can smell fake relationship advice from a mile away, especially when it comes from someone who got caught cheating at their boyfriend's housewarming party. The complete collapse of Brianna's carefully constructed influencer life happened faster than anyone could have predicted. Within 2 weeks of the viral moving truck incident, she'd lost every single sponsorship deal that had been funding her lifestyle. The supplement company, workout clothing brand, meditation app, and even a meal prep service all issued similar statements about re-evaluating partnerships with creators whose actions don't align with our brand values. Just like that, her primary source of income vanished overnight. Hannah showed me screenshots of Brianna's desperate attempts to salvage her business relationships, including a rambling email to the supplement company trying to explain how the entire situation had been orchestrated by vindictive ex-partners seeking to destroy her career. The company's response was professional but firm. We've decided to move in a different direction with our influencer partnerships. Translation: we don't want to be associated with this drama. The financial reality hit her quickly. Without sponsorship money, she couldn't afford her share of the Tampa apartment rent, which had jumped to the full amount after Hannah's departure. I heard through mutual friends that she'd spent her last week there frantically trying to find a subletter, posting increasingly desperate ads on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. Luxury downtown apartment, perfect for young professional, must move in immediately, became cute apartment available, flexible on move-in date and deposit, and finally, urgent, needs someone to take over lease ASAP, willing to pay first month's rent. Nobody wanted to deal with someone whose landlord was already threatening eviction proceedings. The gym situation was the final straw that revealed just how far she'd fallen. Apparently, Derek had been trying to avoid the entire situation by switching his training schedule and staying away from the locations where Brianna typically worked out. But she started showing up at his gym, demanding explanations, accusing him of being part of our conspiracy, and making scenes in front of other members and trainers. According to Marcus, who heard it from Derek directly, she cornered him in the parking lot one evening, screaming about how he'd used her and destroyed her life for nothing. Dude was genuinely scared, Marcus told me. She was following him around, posting photos of his car online, even calling the gym claiming he was harassing her when it was clearly the other way around. The gym revoked her membership after multiple complaints from staff and other members about her disruptive behavior. Being banned from the place where she'd built most of her fitness content was essentially the death blow to whatever remained of her influencer aspirations. Meanwhile, Hannah and I were building something genuinely good together. We'd been taking things slow, but when the internet drama started swirling, we decided to go public with our relationship in our own way. Hannah posted a photo of us at the gym together, the real gym, Derek's place, both of us sweating and smiling after what was clearly a legitimate workout. "Found my actual workout partner," was her simple caption. "Someone who motivates me to be better instead of using fitness as an excuse for drama." The response was overwhelmingly positive. People who'd been following the Brianna situation were genuinely happy to see both of us moving forward in a healthy way. We started posting occasional workout videos together, nothing dramatic or attention-seeking, just two people who enjoyed exercising together and wanted to share legitimate fitness content. The contrast with Brianna's former thirst trap posting strategy was obvious and apparently refreshing to people. By the end of the month, Brianna had moved back to Jacksonville with her parents. Her social media presence became increasingly erratic, long posts about toxic people, vague references to learning hard lessons, and eventually a complete pivot to what she called her mental health journey. She deleted most of her old content, disabled comments on new posts, and started a blog with inspirational quotes about rising above negativity and discovering your authentic self. The irony of someone who'd been caught publicly cheating suddenly becoming an expert on authentic living wasn't lost on anyone, but at least she'd stopped pretending to be a relationship guru. The last I heard, she was working at a chain gym in Jacksonville, teaching basic fitness classes and apparently staying off social media drama entirely. Her blog posts became increasingly generic, the kind of recycled motivational content you could find anywhere, with comments permanently disabled to avoid any references to her recent past. Derek, meanwhile, had started dating someone from his gym, a nurse who apparently appreciated his straightforward, drama-free approach to life. He sent me a message a few months later thanking me for handling the whole situation with class and apologizing for getting caught up in Brianna's manipulation. "I should have seen the red flags," he wrote. "You handled that whole mess like a professional. Hope things work out with Hannah." They were working out perfectly. Hannah and I moved in together officially after 6 months, turning my spare room into a proper home office for her architecture work. We bought a house together the following year, got married 2 years after that, and now have a daughter who's learning to walk in the same living room where Brianna once tried to kick out my party guests. Sometimes I wonder if she ever thinks about how different things could have been if she'd just chosen honesty over manipulation, but honestly, I don't spend much time on those thoughts anymore. Hannah and I built something real together, based on trust and genuine compatibility rather than drama and deception. Turns out the best revenge really is just living well with someone who actually deserves your effort.